Victor Wembanyama bounced a basketball, his smile wide. He couldn't believe it. This was the moment he had been dreaming of since he was a little kid. He was finally in the NBA, ready for his first season. The empty stadium would soon be filled with cheering fans, and he could already feel the energy. Victor had worked hard all summer. He practiced his shots tirelessly, lifted weights to build his strength, and studied the game strategies on his tablet every night. He was determined to be the best he could be. His focus and dedication were unmatched, and he knew that hard work would pay off. Victor had always dreamed of playing in the NBA. As a child, he would spend hours imagining himself on the court, playing alongside his heroes. He loved the roar of the crowd, the way their cheers echoed through the arena, filling him with adrenaline. The squeak of sneakers on the court, a sound that signaled intense competition and action. The thrill of the game. Every pass, every shot, every moment was electric. Now, his dream was coming true. He was standing on the brink of a new chapter in his life. He was excited to learn from the best players in the world. The opportunity to train and play with legends was something he had always hoped for. He was especially excited to play with his new teammates. They were not just skilled players, but also great mentors. They had welcomed him with open arms, making him feel like part of the family from day one. Victor knew he had a lot to learn, but he was eager to get started. He spent hours studying the playbook, wanting to understand every detail. He was ready to show everyone what he could do. His confidence was growing with each practice session. The first game of the season was just around the corner. The anticipation was building and the countdown had begun. Victor could barely contain his excitement. He had been waiting for this moment for so long, and now it was almost here. He knew it would be a challenge, but he was up for it. With determination in his heart and a fire in his eyes, Victor was ready to take on the world. The morning of the big game arrived. Victor woke up with butterflies in his stomach. It was game day. He could hardly believe it. He followed his usual routine. He ate a healthy breakfast, stretched, and visualized his game. But something felt different today. There was a nervous energy in the air. As Victor stepped out of his apartment building, he noticed something strange. Two people in black suits and dark sunglasses stood by his car. Their faces were covered with ski masks. Victor froze. His heart pounded in his chest. Who were these people? What did they want? He considered running back inside, but it was too late. The masked figures had spotted him. They approached him quickly, their expressions unreadable. Victor's mind raced. Was he in danger? He had no idea what was happening. He braced himself for the worst. "Victor Wembanyama?" one of the figures asked, his voice deep and gruff. Victor hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Come with us," the figure said. "We have something for you." Victor's instinct screamed at him to run. But something in the figure's voice made him hesitate. It wasn't threatening exactly, more like intriguing. "Who are you?" Victor asked, his voice barely a whisper. The figures exchanged glances. "That's not important right now," the other figure said. "Just trust us. Trust them." How could he trust anyone who dressed like this? But Victor was curious, and a little bit scared. "Get in the car," the first figure instructed, gesturing towards a sleek black car parked at the curb. Victor hesitated again, then took a deep breath and obeyed. He had a strange feeling this was just the beginning of a very weird day. The car sped through the city streets, weaving through traffic with an urgency that made Victor's heart race. Victor sat in the back, flanked by the two silent figures who seemed to be his escorts, or perhaps his captors. He had no idea where they were taking him, and the uncertainty gnawed at him. The windows were tinted, making it impossible to see outside, adding to the mystery of his destination. He tried to start a conversation, hoping to get some answers, but the figures remained tight-lipped, their faces unreadable. They wouldn't answer any of his questions, no matter how many times he asked. The silence in the car was deafening, a heavy blanket that smothered any sense of comfort. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, each second ticking by with agonizing slowness. Victor's nerves were on edge, his mind racing with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. He felt like he was trapped in a movie, a suspense thriller where he was the unwilling protagonist. The suspense was killing him, each moment filled with a tension that made it hard to breathe. He just wanted to know what was going on, to have some clarity in this bewildering situation. Finally, the car slowed down and pulled into a driveway, the sudden change in speed jolting him from his thoughts. Victor held his breath as the car came to a stop, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked out the window and saw a large, imposing building. its silhouette stark against the night sky. It looked like an old factory, with tall brick walls and barred windows. What was this place? The air around it seemed to hum with a foreboding energy, making Victor's skin crawl. Section 5. A building full of secrets. The masked figures led Victor inside the building. The air was thick with dust and the smell of old machinery. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling. Victor shivered. The place gave him the creeps. They walked down a long dark hallway. The sound of their footsteps echoed through the emptiness. Victor felt a shiver run down his spine. He couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. They stopped in front of a heavy metal door. One of the figures pulled out a key and unlocked it with a loud clang. The door swung open, revealing a large, brightly lit room. Victor gasped. He couldn't believe his eyes. The room was decorated with basketball memorabilia. Jerseys, trophies, and posters lined the walls. In the center of the room was a full-sized basketball court. What was going on here? Section 6. Familiar faces. As Victor stepped into the room, he heard a chorus of shouts and cheers. He froze. That's when he saw them. His family, his teammates, his coaches. They were all there, grinning from ear to ear. "Surprise!" they shouted in unison. Victor's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe it. It was a surprise party for him, organized by his team to celebrate his first NBA season opener. Relief washed over him. He had been so worried, so caught up in the mystery of the masked figures, that he hadn't even considered this possibility. He laughed, a wave of happiness washing over him. He rushed towards his family, embracing them tightly. He couldn't stop smiling. This was the best surprise ever. He felt loved and supported. He knew he was right where he belonged. Section 7. A family affair. Victor's parents were beaming with pride. They had always supported his dreams, and today their unwavering belief in him was shining through their smiles. They had traveled all the way from France to be there for his big day. The journey was long, but their excitement made it feel like a breeze. His siblings were just as excited, their faces lit up with joy. They had always looked up to Victor, and seeing him achieve his dreams was a moment of immense pride for them. The room was buzzing with conversation and laughter. Friends, family, and fans all gathered to celebrate this monumental occasion. Victor's teammates greeted him with pats on the back and words of encouragement. They knew how hard he had worked to get here and were genuinely happy for his success. His coaches offered him handshakes and confident smiles. They had seen his potential from the start and were proud to see him flourish. The team had gone all out. They wanted to make sure Victor felt welcomed and appreciated. There was a buffet of delicious food, with a variety of dishes that catered to everyone's tastes. A DJ playing upbeat music kept the energy high, ensuring that everyone was in a celebratory mood. And a giant cake decorated with the NBA logo stood as the centerpiece, symbolizing Victor's new journey. It was clear that a lot of thought and effort had gone into planning this surprise. Every detail was meticulously arranged to make the event special. Victor felt a surge of gratitude towards his new team. Their efforts made him feel valued and respected. They had welcomed him with open arms and made him feel like part of the family. The camaraderie was palpable. He knew he was going to love playing with them. The bond they shared was already strong, and he looked forward to building on it. As the party went on, Victor chatted and laughed with his teammates. He was getting to know them better off the court, and he was struck by how down-to-earth and supportive they all were. They shared stories, joked around, and even played a friendly game of basketball. Victor was impressed by their skills and their camaraderie. He knew he had a lot to learn from them. He felt a sense of belonging he hadn't expected to find so quickly. It was clear that this team was more than just a group of athletes. They were a family. This surprise party wasn't just about celebrating his first game. It was about welcoming him into the fold and making him feel like he was part of something special. And Victor couldn't have felt more grateful. Just when Victor thought the surprises were over, another one was in store for him. The room fell silent as a hush fell over the crowd. Victor turned towards the entrance and his eyes widened in disbelief. Standing there, with a warm smile on his face, was none other than Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. Victor had idolized Chris Paul since he was a kid. He was a legend, a master of the game. Chris Paul approached Victor and extended his hand. "Victor," he said, his voice smooth and confident, "it's an honor to finally meet you. I've heard great things." Victor was starstruck. He shook Chris Paul's hand, his mind racing. He couldn't believe that one of his idols was here. in the flesh, congratulating him on his NBA debut. It was surreal. Chris Paul spent some time chatting with Victor, offering him words of encouragement and advice. He shared stories about his own rookie season, the challenges he faced, and the lessons he learned along the way. He emphasized the importance of hard work, dedication, and teamwork. He told Victor to never stop learning, to always strive to improve and to enjoy every moment of his journey. Victor listened intently, absorbing every word. He knew he was in the presence of greatness, and he was determined to make the most of this opportunity. Chris Paul's words resonated deeply with Victor. He felt inspired, motivated, and ready to take on the world. He knew he had a lot to live up to, but he was determined to make his mark on the NBA. As the party wound down, Victor felt a mix of emotions: excitement, gratitude, and a healthy dose of nerves. He was about to play in his first NBA game, a dream he had held onto for so long. He looked around at the faces of his family, his teammates, his coaches, and even his idol, Chris Paul. They all believed in him. They were all rooting for him. And that gave him all the confidence he needed. Victor took a deep breath, picked up a basketball, and stepped onto the court. He was ready. He was home. The roar of the crowd filled the arena as Victor took his place alongside his teammates. The lights were blinding. The energy was electric. This was it. This was his moment, and he was ready to seize it.